What is up, Squared Nation? Welcome back to No Counters, No Combos. And today I'm with my teammate David here, who's got an interesting deck profile. He went 3-1 at one of our tournaments here at Level 1 Games, only losing to Evan's Janemba Mill. So I'm just going to let David take it over, and he can talk about what he was playing.
All right, what's up? So I play Prieza Frison. This is the leader. It's 10K on the front, 15K on the back. Really interesting. So on the front side, this leader lets you once per turn look at the top 5 cards of your deck and add a red extra. So pretty much any negate, any of your searcher cards, anything. And then the Awaken is draw 2. It's not untap 2. Draw 2 is actually really, really good for this leader because generally you don't really need untap. You're just kind of playing very slowly. And then this is a Janemba negate on this side once per turn, but you have to discard a red Frieza's army card. And then its activate main is draw 1, so you don't have to swing. So you just kind of get advantage without having to swing. You don't really have to give your opponent cards, which is kind of neat because you're trying to lock them out of the game. Another thing I really like about this leader is it's very elastic, so it bounces a lot. So we'll get into the battle cards, of which is like half the deck. One of the best cards in the deck for Loki Koto. Costs 1 to combo with. It's essentially a pseudo super. It gives you 10k, but you get a red extra card from your drop area back into your hand rather than drawing a card. So you get to recycle negates. It's like one of the best cards in the deck, honestly. Like, you see these in your opening hand, you keep them, you search them with New Model Scouter. It's like super, super important. And then we have his incest cousin, Kikono the Fledgling. This card is garbage, but you have to play 4 of it because you can do some cute things with it. But this card is a neg 2 for 10,000 combo power. Essentially, you neg something by 5 on their board, and it gives 5k combo power, but you have to discard a card, and you have to combo with this. So it's a neg 2, but sometimes you can do neat things if they have like a 30 or a 35k, and you want to get it down low enough to the point where you can either take it or KO it with something. So it's necessary, and it's a red Frieza's army, so it helps your deck's consistency. You just kind of have to play it. But yeah, I hate this card. So then I play a 2-2 split of the Berry Blues, 2 Quick Shift, and 2 Negotiator. So Negotiator is a really, really cool card. You basically take something from your opponent permanently with 25k power or less, ignoring barrier. So even if it has barrier, just yoink it. So against Veku Ramp, actually, this guy right here cleverly didn't play Veku against me because I would have just taken it through the barrier and never swung at him. And yeah, it's got a lot of interesting matchups against decks because, like, against Veku Ramp, they didn't play anything until they got to 8 energy just by charging. And that's kind of how you have to play the matchup. So this deck creates a lot of interesting games of Dragon Ball. And Quick Shifts just put 2 back, draw 2. There's 1 for every color. So then for the bigger bombs, 3-4 seeing hit. One of the better cards in the deck. It's just really good to, if you know matchups, you can know that your opponent is like what they're going to do next turn, what they're trying to do next turn, and go, okay, it's good to tap out for a hit here to rip that play out of their hand. That's really what hit does. It lets you get a little further into the game. You never really swing with it. You just kind of make them waste a turn. This with Live to Fight Another Day is like really good. And then 2 of the 5-drop Frieza. It's another leader negate target. It's another searchable target, and it's a Bloodlust on a stick if you do decide to hardcast it. You have to crit yourself a life in order to get the negate, but it's just another thing for them to play around, and sometimes the double strike crit does come in when they've been wasting a lot of cards to try to get through your wall, and they don't have a lot left in hand to really defend with. You might just want to poke them with this a little bit. And then the main part of the deck, 3 Frieza the Finisher, and 3 Indomitable Emperor Frieza. So you play this generally for 5. If you have at least 5 red extras in your drop, this goes down by 1. And if you have 10 red extras, the cost of this goes down by 2. So it becomes a 5-drop. When you play this, you blow up everything on the board 25k or less. I'm fairly certain that's ignoring barrier. It is ignoring barrier. And then it has double strike, so you can swing with it if you want to get them to 4 life. Because you want them at 4 life when you play this. This is discard 3, so it's a little hefty, but if you do it on your awakened turn, you get all the cards right back, so it's not a big deal. Discard 3, when you play this, it restands. So if you swung with this to get them to 4, you can restand it. Once this is on the board, if they attempt to play a battle card with 30,000 power or less, they have to crit themselves for life as a cost. So before they even play the card. So it's really interesting against a lot of decks. It actually surprised me how tough it is for decks to get around this. I thought this was just kind of going to be there, and I was never really going to get a lot off of it. People were just going to pop it. The Gogeta leader was just going to spin it. But honestly, this comes up a lot more than I thought initially. Like, even against Vanilla Coup, where they can just play Demigra, like, a lot of the times they either don't have it or they don't want to tap out for it because I still have energy open to defend myself, and I still have, like, 12 cards in hand. So this actually does do a lot. Once you play this, it's pretty hard for your opponent to get around it. Veku Ramp is really the only deck that can easily do it, because Broly's pretty free with this deck, not gonna lie. So then the last 3 battle cards are just kind of necessary. This is the best card in the deck, by far. This is what I win all my games with. This every once in a while locks my opponent out to a point where, like, I can eventually win with this, but this is the finisher. Against Broly, this card's amazing because no matter how many pieces of their chain they have on board, you get to look at their hand and rip a card out before you blow up their board. So you just rip the next piece of their chain out of their hand, and then you blow up their board. And you have, I main deck Killy Zone, so I'm not worried about them bloodlusting me. So it's pretty much GG once I get this. And they hit themselves down to 4 life at the start of the game, so this is Quad Strike. So, and then to Fu Shrouded, this is a new edition. I actually haven't played it yet, but in theory it's pretty good. It's kind of an alternate win con to the secret or the other thing. If earlier in the game I go, okay, I'm gonna have to play for this because I don't have the secret or it's not in my deck. If I like tutored through my deck and I didn't see this, and I know it's in my life, I can play for, okay, maybe I will swing with the hit, or maybe I will swing with the 5-drop Frieza to try to get them to 2, and then finish the game with this. So in theory, it's pretty good. It might be bad. I might take it out. We'll see what happens. I didn't play it when I was like actually playing this deck in tournament, so it's just kind of a new thing. So then extra cards, pretty simple. 4 Cobb's Awakening, it's your super combo at 6k, so it's kind of a pseudo 10k, and you can recycle it with Loki Koto. So the cool thing about this, it goes to the drop right when you combo with it. So you can go combo with this, its effect activates and it goes to the drop, and then you can combo with Loki Koto and get the same one back, and then combo with it again. So it gives you a lot of combo power for very little energy. So it's a really, really good card. Definitely need to play that at 4. I play 4 new model Scouter because it's a +1, and honestly, so card advantage in this game is like, you kind of just have what you start with, and there are not a ton of cards that get you like raw advantage. Like even Broly doesn't get you raw advantage, it just kind of gets you a board state for the cards that you have. The only real raw advantage deck out there is like Vanilla Coup. Even Janemba doesn't really get a lot of advantage. You swing with your leader, you draw a card every turn, and then you have to charge every turn, and then you have to defend yourself with cards. So generally, you never really hit above like 10 cards in your hand with that deck. With this deck, you can hit really high numbers, 15, 16 cards in hand, like constantly. So, 2 Transcendent Strikes. This is a $10 foil, and I really, really don't know why. But it's kind of necessary in the deck. It's just removal. The deck doesn't really have a lot of that, so you just kind of have to play this. But I only played it 2 because I don't like love it. It becomes energy a lot of the time. And then 4 Afterimages. It's the best negate in the deck. It's just really good. You can kill a lot of stuff with it. And I've had opponents' cards, well, between Afterimage, Is That All You've Got, and Paralysis Technique.
Bro, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. Go ahead.
Between Afterimage, Is That All You've Got, and Paralysis Technique, you have so much minus in this deck, shoutouts to Graham, that you really just kill a lot of your opponent's stuff on their turn, and there's not much they can do about it. They have to swing at you to deal damage to eventually win the game, but then they swing into these and you keep recycling them, and they lose board state for literally nothing. So it's kind of neat. So this is the negate lineup, and then you have your leader negate on top of that. So it's very, very difficult for your opponent to get through to you. And Paralysis Technique I liked a lot more than I thought I would. So then, one of the main cards of the deck, Live to Fight Another Day. I played it 3. Generally, I only use 1 to 2 of these per game, and some games it's just energy. I don't even need it. Like against Red Gogeta, I don't even play this because by the time you get to the turn where you can play this, they're playing the Fusion Chain anyway, so that gets around this. So it's not useful against every deck, but the decks it is useful against, it just stops them dead in their tracks, and you get to play the game for free for a few turns, essentially, especially if you keep recycling them. This card is pretty nasty. And then the last 2 cards in the deck, 2 Killie Zone. Worst case scenario, it's a free draw, and they're not playing any counterplays. Best case scenario, it wins me a game against Green Broly, which I play a lot of Green Broly, and a lot of the times they keep the yellow up thinking they're safe, and then I just drop this and then drop the secret rare, and there's not much they can do. So it's worth playing for that reason at least, and even in games where they're not playing counterplays, it's a draw for 0 energy, which sometimes this has got me to pieces I needed, because you have so many cards in your drop. Once you combo with your battle cards to cycle through your stuff, you don't need them in there anymore. Nothing in this has sparking, nothing has, so those are just there. You can just ditch them for this. And I don't play any Overwhelm because I want to keep most of my extra cards there, so this lets me control what I remove from there. Whereas Overwhelm, I'd have to get rid of all the negates that I could cycle through. So yeah, that's it.
So I have a question for you. How do you feel like, because technically this deck is like off the cuff or considered rogue or non-meta, how do you think it, stands right now in the game with the new changes and stuff?
If you know how to play this deck, every matchup should be pretty free. And that's not even an exaggeration. This deck literally beats everything. It forces everything to play strangely. Nobody knows how to play against it. Aggro has a tough time with it because you're killing their stuff as they're trying to kill you. Honestly, the only deck that I've ever really felt scared against with this is Green Broly if they have the secret rare. Then you're kind of in a bad position, but you have your leader negate, which kind of helps a lot with that. And you have a lot of targets to ditch for your leader negate, so you can rip one off your life and then negate with that. But generally, I think Janemba auto wins against this deck, which is why you don't see it a lot, because there's almost nothing you can do against Janemba. By the time you get to the point where you can start playing battle cards, most of your good stuff has been milled, and they're still at 8 life. So I don't think, I've messed with the side a little bit. I kind of want to side in just 15 blue cards that are all Janemba cards, so I can just mill them out in response to them trying to mill me out. I don't think it would work, but it would be pretty funny. But honestly, I don't think this deck can beat Janemba. I don't think there is any way for it to, which is why I don't think you're seeing a lot of people playing this, because it just has no way around Janemba. But other than that, I feel pretty safe with this deck. If I'm at a tournament and I look around and I don't see any Janemba players, I'm feeling pretty confident. It is really, really hard to get this deck to 0 life. Unless you can destroy this deck's entire hand by some means, because you have like 15 cards in your hand and hand destruction isn't very prominent right now. Unless you have a way to completely destroy your opponent's hand, like the Broly secret, or you're going to mill them out with Janemba, this deck doesn't really have much to fear, because you just never die. They don't have many ways to kill you. They can't go wide because you're killing their stuff, and they can't use a few big attacks that are tall because you have a million negates. So,
I mean, it's definitely interesting. My question to you is, with the anniversary upcoming, are there any cards that you're targeting in that set to help support this archetype? So this is it right here? This is it?
I think this deck's going to get better after that comes out, because there's going to be less people playing Janemba because they want to play the cute new stuff, and this deck craps all over that stuff.
Well, hopefully that we wait and see what happens with that. But any shout-outs, anything you want to say before we get on out of here?
Shout-outs to all the people behind the camera right now that I had trouble keeping a straight face in front of this whole time, and making a lot of really bad jokes. Shout-outs to the man behind the camera, Adrian, No Counters, No Combos himself, for providing the internet with phenomenal content and deck profiles of real quality and other videos as well.
All right, well, thank you so much for the shout out. For those of you watching, definitely give this deck a try. I mean, it's definitely off the cuff. It's not something common, but if you're trying to challenge yourself and play something different, definitely give it a whirl. Obviously, you have the list here to go off of and make a couple of changes that suit your play style. But
don't make any changes.
or you can not make any changes as well. But with that being said, we're going to get on out of here. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Be there or be squared.